I'm sitting in my car. I'm driving back from taking my oldest daughter to Tours. I live in France, and she's going to a weekend. That's the end of a training, and from there she's going straight to move in with her boyfriend. And so I'm driving back from taking her there, and I'm thinking about, kids growing up, and it's the end of an era. She's moving on with her life. Of course, that's what I want for her, but it stings a little bit. Like, I'm gonna miss her. She's probably not gonna come home again in that particular way. Like, she's gonna actually be living with someone, and she's the first. And so I'm thinking about all that. And I'm listening to music on the radio. I'm playing a playlist from Spotify that my kids and I and their dad created together in the confinement. In March of 2020, the lockdown. And so I'm listening to this playlist, and it's a bunch of songs I wouldn't necessarily listen to, but it seems fitting. Like, my daughter's leaving home and I'm listening to the music that my kids created mostly. And suddenly this song comes on, this Bob Dylan song. The title is Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. Now, I could go on about that title. But what happened to me is that I felt in my gut, like, this deep, deep wave of emotion just rising and coming up into my throat, and I start sobbing, like, uncontrollably, almost. I mean, I'm remembering that, I'm behind the wheel, and so I check that I can still see the road. But I'm just sobbing and sobbing because it reminds me of my dad. And my dad passed away over a year ago, but he would sing this song. He would kind of sing it and have a dancey move, like, with the kids, and just, look at them with love. And he was just such a warm presence, and he's gone, and I really miss him. And so I'm a little surprised with the strength of this emotion that's coming over me. Like, I'm like, wow, how much longer? Like, how much longer? And yeah, I don't have the answer to that. But I'm thinking about my dad and the year that it's been since he died, and how I really now have to really figure out another way to be in the world. Like, being an orphan, it happens even when you're an adult and have been for a while. You lose your parents and you're suddenly an orphan. So that's what I'm with, and with all that happened in the last 2 years. My dad died a year ago, my mom 9 months before that, and it was really a lot for me. And I'm still driving. It's a 3-hour drive, so at some point the tears subside, and I find a little more equanimity. And there I am. Actually, I have access to some inner peace that really didn't come all that easy for me. I've gone through more than 15 years of personal therapy. I searched and searched for my happiness for the better part of 3 decades, I think. It's a little confused now to think exactly of the time, but really I've been searching and searching everywhere. And I finally became a therapist myself, after I found enough and wanted to help others. And so now for the last 12 years, I've been helping people, perhaps just like you, to find and experience their true happiness. So let me see. Yeah, so I really learned a lot. So I haven't introduced myself. I'm Sonia Wires, and I believe that cultivating your happiness is the most important thing that you can do, both for yourself and for those you love. And there is not a moment to waste. Now, I know that there are some obstacles that we need to contend with. And for me, it's been recently the loss of both my parents, and then my kids growing up and leaving home. And for you, it might be the same, frankly, because there are a lot of people in my age group who are struggling with some similar things. Or for you, it may be like some professional challenges, especially in this period of COVID and all the craziness and uncertainty around that. Or maybe for you, you've had an accident, or a loved one has had an accident, or maybe it's just emotional downs that you know all too well. And so I really want to help you with that. And so today I'm going to talk to you about 3 things. So the first is being with. The second is accepting what is. And the third is experience. Now, don't go. I know those sounds like, cliche because everybody talks about them, but everybody talks about them like they're easy. I know they're not. And so the first I want to talk to you about is being with. Now, do you think it was easy being in that car, sobbing, and sobbing? No, it was not easy. And so I know that some of what we go through, some of what I go through, and I'm sure some of what you go through, that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to be with that. But it's something you can learn, and it's really important, actually, that we learn to be with our emotions, because that's the only way that they're gonna, that you can go beyond. And that I don't want to scare you, but like if you keep too much emotion inside, like some people get diseases out of that. So let's not do that. And so it's really important, and I work with my clients. I work with my clients a lot on that, because that's really something people struggle with. And, in my program, Experience Your True Happiness Haven, that's also one of the things that I'm going to work with people on. So think of something that you have difficulty being with, and, really feel the impact it has on your life when you can't really be with that, and yet it's there, and it's really really important to learn to be with what is. And so that's the first, that's what I wanted to say about being with for now. The second thing I want to talk to you about is accepting what is. Now, that's also not easy, and a lot of gurus say, accept what is, and then you're done. Not so fast. That is probably both the most important thing you can learn to do, and also the most difficult. I work with my clients a lot on that, and also in my program there's a whole module devoted to that, because it's really hard. And so let me just be clear about what I mean by accepting. I don't mean that you're happy about what's going on. I don't mean that you think what's going on is okay. What I do mean is not fighting against the fact that things are the way they are. So my kids leaving home, for example, it stings a little bit, but of course, that's an easy one, because of course we want our kids to live their life and to be happy in their own lives. But still, there's some people just stay stuck in that. Oh, my child has left home. Now my life has no meaning. Or, I don't know if that's meaningful to you, but I hear people sometimes reacting that way. And so, or people trying to keep their kids close because somehow they have this idea that they can keep their kids close and that's going to be good for the kid. Often that goes that way. Maybe you had a parent like that. So yeah, accepting my child is growing up and she's leaving home, and I'm not going to fight that. Now, it may cause me some experiences that I don't like, but I'm still not going to fight or resist the fact that that's going on. It's an important nuance to really let things be the way they are, but on the inside. So that's an important thing to learn to do as well, to accept. And the two are linked. So being with and accepting, they're very linked, but it's slightly different aspects. So one is being with the impact, and the other is accepting the circumstances, and sometimes the circumstance is somebody else. Like somebody else. Have you noticed how often the other people are not the way you want them to be, and how difficult that is? Well, other people, you know, they're the way they are. And I'll tell you, I tried to fix my mom for a great many years, and it's really when I figured out that I couldn't change her that I had access to a lot more of my happiness. So that's about accepting what is. And then the third and last thing I want to talk to you about today is experience. Yeah, there's only so much you can do in your head about happiness. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people who tell you, you know, do this, do that, think this, think that, and you'll be happy. Well, yeah, that's not how I see it. So experience, but experience what? Well, that's the whole question actually, is what are the experiences that you need? And that's really something that we go deep into in the Experience Your True Happiness Haven. We go deep into the experiences that are going to be meaningful for you, that are going to help you figure out what's good for you, what's not, and also new things that just you hadn't tried because it never occurred to you. Or yeah, so a lot of it's important to go out and experience. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering what you can do, you know, think in your life of your modal response to things that you don't like, when things happen that you don't like. Well, what's your modal response? And see, you know, if you can try another way to be, another thing to do, a new perspective to have. So those are some of the things. Those are the things you can do. I'll tell you, I never thought that I would do what I did for my parents. I'm an only child, and when both of my parents started declining rapidly, I tried a whole bunch of new things, and boy, am I glad that I did, because it really allowed me to be with my parents at the end. And you know, all the sadness that I still carry, because I miss my dad a lot. I do have the satisfaction of having had all those very positive and meaningful experiences. And so I say that, and as I say that, I'm thinking, you know, for some people where the relationships are difficult, it's not necessarily satisfying. You don't necessarily have very satisfying relationships or experiences with some people. But it's still important to experience life, and to experience our relationships, and to experiment with different experiences. So that's what I wanted to say about experiencing. So one of the most common questions I get is, Sonia, this is great, but what do I do next? Well, there's a link below with an application for the Experience Your True Happiness Haven. You can fill it out and submit it. But now I'd like you to picture a day. Picture a day when you confidently know that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Picture a day when you can stop searching for your happiness everywhere and you can finally do something else. Picture a day when you can find a peaceful place inside, no matter what. That's really what I want for you, is that you find that inner peace where you know that everything is fine the way it is. And that doesn't mean we don't want to change anything. Of course, there are things we want to change, but we have to start from a place where everything is fine the way it is. And I know that's not always easy. I've been there, believe me, I've been there, and I still go there sometimes. But that's really what I want for you. So it's around the year 2000, and I'm in my office, sitting on the floor, sobbing and sobbing uncontrollably. I've had a therapy appointment earlier that day, and I've just realized, like, I can't form the words completely, but what I've just realized is that I've been going about my life wrong. Like, somehow I tried to be someone, I tried to be an image of somebody I wanted to be, but I completely lost track of the person inside. And so that was really a pretty devastating realization, but it was also a great start, because it's only when I finally realized that I was going about things wrong that I was able to start looking for how to do things better and how to be more aligned with myself. And that's really what I want for you.